Welcome to the How Could You podcast. I'm Lauren Tocci.
And I'm Ryan Tocci. There is greatness in every single person. It doesn't matter who they are. They have genius waiting to erupt. You just need to find the right people to unlock that. Thank you to everyone who unlocked my genius.
Your composure at the beginning of this is remarkable. It is like moments after the 95th Academy Awards, the tension and the excitement in this room is palpable, and your ability to like bust out that key quote is really remarkable.
You know what?
Me.
It's a night about the Daniels, and we just needed to honor them. And by doing that, you know, we're talking about people that help you unlock your genius and help you. What better way to do that than our two friends that are here, surprise guests on the show this evening.
Surprise!
I'd like to introduce two of our guests. We've talked about it on the show. We watch this, or we watch the Oscars every year with these two, and we're so excited to have them. One is a returning guest, one is a brand new guest, and we are excited to have them. Jessica Kalavoda and Jesse Kalavoda.
Yay!
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you, guys. All right, so we just watched the 95th Academy Awards.
Can I do some scene setting first?
Yes.
So, if you've been listening to this podcast at all, you know we are two people who fell in love at a movie theater and never quite left. You also may understand that these are two people who also fell in love at a movie theater and never quite left. I am a tyrant about the Oscars. I like to watch them in silence. I like to really focus in, and there are only two people in this world who could probably understand and agree to my terms to watch the Oscars.
It is a truly terrifying experience, but we got through it.
Can we talk about, though, I'm just going to throw Lauren under the bus immediately, that she breaks her own rules? Have we noticed that?
And then we all look at her like, wait, what is she doing? She just yelled at me for doing that a second ago.
She's on the phone. We can be on our phone.
Yes.
I like to think of myself as an amicable dictator.
Yeah, it's fine. We just need our own Navalny here to help us get through this. I will always talk about the first year, Jesse, that we had you over, and about 5 minutes before the show, you asked us to order some pizza.
I was very upset. I was expecting food.
Lauren did not have the quality snacks you expected.
I did not think we would be invited back after
I
that.
do
I'm not going to lie.
I literally thought, I'm like, this MFer is asking me to order pizza. I've got a spread. I've got a cheese plate. I've got all these cute little snacks, and he's asking for pizza.
Yeah.
And the Oscars are literally starting, and the panic in Ryan's eyes of like, I've got to both order this pizza to appease my friend and try to get my wife to not kill me. You balanced a particular edge there.
You know what? I appreciate the fact that you made it through. They made it through.
Yes.
We're all still here. All these years
so
later.
embarrassed. You've got to be kidding me.
I sat in the corner, I crossed my legs, I folded my arms, and I waited patiently for my pizza.
In your defense, it was a lackluster spread we had that year. We've decided to up the game since
It's very rude, I apologize.
But I just want to say, like, Key and Brendan, we're all still here.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And speaking of that, how about this Academy Awards? I mean, a big night for Encino Man, right? Like,
Not Pauly Shore.
We didn't do the disclaimer. Did we do the disclaimer? You need to do a disclaimer, right?
the fact that we, three of us right now have champagne glasses? Is that the disclaimer?
I felt like it's only fair for your audience.
Yes, Lauren rocking the Coke. Good work by you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about
She's responsible.
any champagne that you had prior to that Coke. But
The Coke is a remnant of, I've had so much champagne before. And, like, I've been watching coverage since 1 p.m. and we are covering this at 12:30 at night.
Yes.
This
You're
has
getting
been a
almost
long
12
haul.
hours.
This is a long haul of a night.
And two things I do need to say. I'm saying Coke. It is Coca-Cola. Since you've talked about Babylon in such a spirited way over the last few podcasts, I just want to make sure everybody knows it's
Also,
Coca-Cola.
criminally robbed at this Oscars,
Yes,
but whatever.
and also to, Jess and Jesse, we appreciate the fact that literally it is 12:45 at night and we asked them about 12:15 to be on this show. So good for them for being good
I was just
sports.
going to sit back and watch, man. So it's fine.
So let's talk about the show. All right. I just want to know right off the bat, initial quick thoughts, guys. Like, we're going to go through this show pretty brisk, pretty quickly, but I just need to know everybody's initial thoughts of it being after the show is over.
Lauren's
no,
more important.
Jesse.
No,
No.
my initial thoughts, like I said right away. I mean, I came dressed as Elvis.
Yes. We're going to post some pictures. Jesse is in full pink Elvis outfit, and it is amazing.
Now, I wasn't expecting any big wins for Elvis, but I was expecting some wins. So my initial reaction is there were 0 wins for Elvis. And I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're the guy at the party that's like literally wearing the outfit and then no wins.
No. Yep.
It's tough. It's a tough beat.
Yep.
You know, but you look fantastic.
You really do.
So
Yes,
I just want to make sure
I
that's
plan on Charlie Brown sulking out of here.
that's fair.
Jess, any thoughts?
Yeah, Jesse kind of stole that for me because I was really looking forward to some Elvis. I'm not gonna lie. I have my Banshees shirt on too.
Yes.
And I was looking forward to some Banshees there. But I loved everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
You're not upset with the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
You're not mad at the Academy
no,
Awards. You're
no,
just
I'm
disappointed with them.
disappointed.
That's fair.
all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Lauren, I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
We've talked on this show. We know that you are a big Everything Everywhere All
Yes.
at Once fan. So I'm going to actually throw a curveball question at you.
Okay.
What is your opinion on the fact that, like, this is a show that, I mean, we're going to say it right off the bat. Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know, just crushes it, wins everything. Is it a good show if you're not a fan of that film?
So I think that is the problematic point. I think if you are coming hoping for like a robust spread, I think this Oscar show is a little tough in that way. I think that they really highlighted the films and the filmmaking and the awards, and I think they kind of went back to a form that, I'm going to say this, and this is going to feel very Sean Fennessy, the Oscars are back. Like, I am ready to say this, that they are back in a full force. They are at the cultural touchstone moments, and I think like Everything Everywhere All at Once, making the pretty much sweep across a lot of the major categories, suggests that the populace maybe has some influence in this. Now, I do know that a win for Top Gun Maverick in one of the more major categories, if not Best Picture, would have felt like more representational of that populace, but I will say, like, from the space I'm sitting, I think if you're not a fan of Everything Everywhere All at Once, what I hope it does is turn you on to this film rather than make you afraid of this film. Like, I hope that the amount of flowers that it was given at this makes you go, okay, there's something to watch here if you weren't already exposed to it. And I think A24 did a remarkable job the way in which it marketed this film and the way in which it pushed its Oscars campaign that should make anyone understand that this is a film worth checking out. But if you hadn't checked it out, I hope from this you go, okay, this is not niche. This is potentially something that you should be looking at. And I think what that comes down to, as I'm sure we'll talk about, is Jamie Lee Curtis winning for Best Supporting Actress.
Whoa, spoilers. We're not there yet.
Sorry, we're not there.
Spoilers.
As in, Ryan wants to talk about that first because his girl in action figure form is literally right about this podcast.
I'm going to give you guys all the floor first, but I will take the floor first.
Yeah, that is entirely fair.
But I do, okay. So. But I will ask you this, and then I will come back to Jess and Jesse here in a second. Just briefly, your opinion on the show, good, bad, what's your take?
Great, actually. I think that there was a moment halfway through the ceremony where I looked at all of you and I went from really excited, like kicking the door down of like, yes, the effing Oscars are back, to going, God damn it, if this goes all quiet, we're all effed. Like, this is not a good scenario for anyone involved. And I think that halfway point where I was worried about that, some of those technical categories, I feel like if it had swayed a little bit more in the miscellany, I think that would have been a little bit more fun. But that being said, I think my overall feeling about the Oscars is, you know, you and I sat down March of 2022 and we saw Everything Everywhere All at Once and we were like, that's a Best Picture. That movie needs to get recognized. That movie should get all the gold. Like, you and I walked out of the theater saying that. For that to happen feels pretty remarkable. So I am not upset about anything that happened tonight.
That's fair. Jess?
Oh, no, I totally agree with Lauren. Like, watching that movie, and I think the problem is I watched it so long ago that I absolutely adored it and loved it when I watched it. So I'm super happy with how the night went. I think the Oscars in general this year were just so much fun and so amazing and started off so hot. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it was a really great show.
Yeah. Jesse?
Yeah, the fact that it didn't require a big musical number or a great, like, Jimmy Kimmel was great.
Yeah.
But, like, you were excited for the speeches. You were excited for, like, you were excited for the nominees in general. And once again, I don't know if it's necessarily because we loved most of these movies. But,
right.
yeah.
You're right. It helps, right?
Yeah.
I will say, it speaks volumes for you guys because, I mean, our audience doesn't know this because you guys are new to our show. But obviously, we've already mentioned huge Elvis fans, rooting for it heavily. But, you know, so that was kind of your top, like, obviously. Doesn't end up winning, but I think it speaks volumes that you guys are talking about, that there are all these other great films that you guys were still able to find, you know, some enjoyment. My quick thought on it is, like, I agree with you guys all. I thought it was a great show. To kind of throw that out really quick. My only thing is I don't know if it helps the Oscars going forward. But let's jump into the show, right? Like, we talk about Top Gun. Let's take that out, pull the Band-Aid off. It doesn't win Best Picture. A lot of talk about this because it's such a popular film outside of our niche movie-loving, crazed cinephiles that we all are. And, you know, it ends up not winning, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer, but the show tried to give it all the love it could.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that opening, we get a flyover of jets. I mean, we get Jimmy Kimmel kind of coming down. So, like, you know, it obviously Top Gun, they're trying to pull in that audience, and they're trying to keep that audience
they realize that's
for the rest of
audience.
the show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go, like, we get Jimmy Kimmel right off the bat. He gives his opening. I'd love to hear your guys' all thoughts on Jimmy Kimmel's opening, and then maybe even just his hosting altogether through the night, because we really get the opening and then very little of him later on.
I do think there was, like, a move made here of, like, something that felt like that harkens back to a very traditional Oscars realm, like, of the host's job is really, the heavy lifting is in that first 25% of the show, and then after that, it's really about, we are going through pretty much the banger awards, and he doesn't need to be, or she doesn't need to be present during that time. I think that they relied on kind of an old format. I think the fact that they made this big deal of, like, it's a champagne red carpet, it's red draping, we're gonna have montage, like, I think the Oscars as a body was like, the Oscars are back and we're going to do something that feels so traditional that you don't need to worry about things that have happened in past. And that includes past mistakes, a pandemic, a very public and very unfortunate event of violence. And I think we need to swing back to something that feels pretty traditional. And I think they did that in the hosting style of this in many ways. Like, I think Jimmy Kimmel was a presence up front. Look, I like Jimmy Kimmel a lot. I think he is fun, and I think he cares about the people that he is kind of set as a part of the, look, I need to kind of mock or comment at, and I think he cares about those people a lot. So I think any jokes he does, I think he does very cautiously. The only thing I'll say to that, he went after Spielberg and the Fabelmans in a way that was, like, really uncomfortable.
We all looked at each other during that, and we were like, no.
Right?
Like, it was rough. Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna say it to you guys, right? I don't mean to jump in, but
no.
you guys all played like Spielberg's your grandfather, and you're protecting him. Like, he's fair game like everybody else.
No, Spielberg.
He's Spielberg. He's gold.
He coached me through life.
Exactly, Jesse.
Yes.
Jess had looked at me at a point and she was like, Spielberg looks nervous. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this is a guy who's, I think that in a really positive and affirming way, like, hungry for this win. I think he knows the story he has. I think he knows what he has done with this film. I think he was incredibly deserving of a Best Director. Best Picture is a different conversation, but Best Director definitely. And I think that opening dialogue about him and the mom, those felt like cheap shot jokes that feel very much like, okay, I kind of get where Bob Hope would have done this, but Kim will do better.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it felt to me.
Definitely were shock factor jokes.
Yes.
Let's shock the audience.
Yes.
Nobody would ever do that to Spielberg. But I'm gonna do it.
Weird.
Yeah, it felt off for Kimmel because
There was a
Just that one,
definitive audience groan at that
Yes,
joke. I won't
yes.
lie. I actually didn't have a problem with the joke like the three of you, but
Of course not.
but
The lone dissenter.
I wanted chaos.
Way to go, Ryan.
the joke wasn't necessarily bad. It was maybe just that we were worried for Spielberg's feelings.
Yes, yes.
I think that was
Really don't hurt his feelings, though.
He's a good person.
You could feel off the bat, like, I mean, listen, it was the elephant in the room, or the Will Smith not in the room is probably more better. Like, thank you. We knew that this was going to be addressed prior. There's no way to not talk about it, right? I thought there was such it felt like they overcompensated to make sure that they were trying to be so careful to any jokes at the audience tonight. But I do appreciate that they addressed it. So let's get this out of the way really quick. Jesse, do you think that the Will Smith stuff was handled fine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially the final joke. The final joke was amazing with the count with a one day
without incident.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree. I thought that was a great way to end the show.
Yep.
So that ends the podcast. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
We talked about the end of the show. But no, I mean, Jesse, I mean, you kind of agree? Or,
I totally agree. Like, they didn't focus so much on it, which is what I was super happy about. I didn't want to hear over crazy jokes about the slap.
Right.
Like, I'm so done with it. I just don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
So, though, I think the way he handled it was great. And then that very last ending, like, so many days without an incident was perfect and subtle.
Lauren?
No, similarly, like, I think you have to address it. I don't think you can pretend like it didn't happen. This is this major moment where people have had a lot of very strong feelings about it. And I think, like, relatively, like, I would say justified strong feelings about it. And, like, you and I remember recording this last year and being really in the weeds and being like, I don't know how I feel about this. And I feel very torn even commenting on this. And I think, like, the only path forward is through. So therefore, if you're going to go through, you have to kind of acknowledge this massive thing that has happened before. So it doesn't have to be this, like, phantom ghost that's, like, hanging over the Oscar ceremony going forward. Instead, you address it head on and you kind of go, we're going to make some jokes about it. So that way, either this ceremony can move forward or even, like, kind of future thinking ceremonies in the future don't have to keep feeling like they need to atone for what happened.
I agree. I thought Kimmel was so measured, and I thought it was great. And I agree with you guys. It felt like, obviously, the room only really reacted in a negative way with that joke about Spielberg.
Yeah. I'm going to counter something. I don't think Kimmel's measured. I think Kimmel made his feelings known.
Oh, no. I meant measured in the jokes that the audience expresses.
Yes,
because even when he kind of took shots at the audience, he kind of, you could feel him circle back and then compliment the members throughout. So let's move on. We got a little surprised off the bat where we get the first award, which ends up being Best Animated Feature, before we get usually what this is the Best Supporting Actor.
Lauren's surprise at the fact that this award came was amazing.
Right. Thank you.
Wait, what?
I'm a creature of habit, nothing else. Yeah.
We got, I will say, I had wrote in my notes this about, we got a lot of what? And a lot of F words by Lauren. So, like, effing right, I think we got a lot.
Yes.
I always appreciate. But yeah, you seem, Lauren, very surprised that they went with the animated feature. But we get the animated feature, ends up going to Pinocchio. We get Del Toro.
Yes.
Did they get it right?
They absolutely
100%.
got it right.
100%.
Yeah. All great movies this year. All great animated movies.
And something I think we get right off the bat right with Del Toro is a little bit of emotion. And that kind of sticks through the night, right? Like, I think that's the thing that the overall theme of the evening, which is emotion. Like, most of these winners throughout the night, you could feel just a genuine appreciation.
There was like a connection with the crowd that I never felt with Academy Awards.
I've never cried at an Oscars show before tonight.
Right.
I'm just gonna say, and I cried multiple times.
Yes.
So
let's,
it was an emotional
let's
night.
get to I believe all four, and I don't want to speak for everybody because I was not looking at everybody. Let's get to Best Supporting Actor.
Come on now, man.
So
you know how we all feel.
Yeah, Lauren, what's your feelings here? We got the big win right off the bat.
I got up off the couch. I clapped. I started crying immediately. Like, look, this is the thing. I don't think that... So, I think one of the ways in which we talk about awards prediction is we go, oh, they've won at this, so they've won at this, so that means this. Sorry, I'm going to say it, with no offense to any other award show, the Oscars hit different. It is a difference when all of a sudden you win that Academy Award. It is the most prestigious film honor across multiple categories: technical achievements, acting achievements, writing achievements. So I think when it happens, it's like, this is a different thing. Like, when this happens, this has either solidified something about your place within film history, or it's also become a launching pad for your career. And I think with Key winning, it felt like, yeah, this is the fruition of everything we wanted. Like, who doesn't want that storyline? Who is not bought into this child actor that we beloved for these very few parts all of a sudden ascending to this, like, you're being nominated for an Oscar, you are recognized as one of the best actors of this year? That feels special. So when Key wins and he gets up and gives just the, speech of a lifetime, and immediately I went, this is going to go down as one of the great Academy Awards speeches. And it felt emotional. I was crying my eyes out from the second his name.
She wiped her eyes quite a long time. Yes, she did. Yeah.
So let's I didn't actually say big Key Kwan.
Key Kwan.
Thank you. I apologize. Yeah. Ends up winning this award. And
love him.
Yeah. So what's your guys feel like? You guys?
I've never wanted to hug somebody more in my entire life.
I love him so much. Like, he's somebody who you just saw the pure joy and like appreciation for winning that award. It was just one of those things where you're like, he deserves that. Like, he deserves that. Obviously his acting.
Right.
He just seems like such a genuine human being that you like Jesse said, you just want to hug him. Like, he just was so happy.
Yeah, somebody you've seen him, like, maybe, personally, I've only seen him do two things before this.
Sure.
Like, it's all of a sudden him going from those two things to all these layered characters in this one movie is just well-deserved performance.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. He delivered in a special moment that, we kind of saw coming. It still felt completely a surprise and felt authentic, and he gave so much emotion talking about dreams. It was everything. I will say, I've gotten welled up at speeches. I've never legitimately cried during a speech, and this one broke me. In a lot of different ways, and probably more I'll talk with Lauren about off camera or off mic. It's a special Oscar moment, and I think we all agreed, and there wasn't a dry tear. And I think
what a way to kick it off,
right?
Like, come on, like, how do you go from there?
And how do we go from there? We move into Best Supporting Actress, and I will just quick say this:
you can have this one.
We'll
all remain silent. Go off.
Back in October, I asked Lauren if I could do something, and she agreed, and it was to rent a movie theater out so that we can invite all of our friends, and two that are here that were there, and we brought 25 of our friends so we could go see Halloween Ends. And go see Halloween Ends because of how much that franchise means, and to see this end of Jamie Lee Curtis's run in that franchise, because anybody that is a horror fan, anybody that's a Carpenter fan, anybody that's a Halloween fan, anybody that's a film fan loves Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. So I think there were a lot of deserving people to win this award, but to see Jamie Lee Curtis, after all of these years, this icon in the industry, get her Oscar, and as a personal Halloween dork who has his, Laurie Strode action figure to the left of him, I could not have been happier. So that was an awesome, awesome moment. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. There's you said it beautifully. Like, she's just well deserved.
I literally thought, I'm like, after those 2 awards, I'm like, I could run through like a fucking brick wall right now. Like, this is movies, man. Like, this is the stuff that you wait for.
We could say the F word on this show.
I believe when we had Anthony here, the
agreement
was
one.
Lauren just stole it. Lauren just stole it.
I learned from Anthony. You get 1 per podcast.
Yes.
One per podcast.
I mean, we're just making up rules just for the record. I mean, it's 1:00 in the morning. We've got champagne flowing.
Yeah.
You know what?
This is gonna keep going.
If you want to keep listening, we can't guarantee what's going to be said after this.
I also think, like, look, there's an element of, like, Oscars history here with, like, both of her parents having been nominated previously for Oscars. I think it's the Scream Queen thing come to fruition. Like, the fact that she went, I'm going to call out genre filmmaking during my speech to say all you genre film fans, which is to say all you horror film fans out in the audience.
We want an Oscar!
We want an Oscar! Like, it's, God, like, those first 2 awards.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis and Key, however you say his name.
Yeah.
I wanted them to keep coming up for all the other
Oh,
awards moving forward.
They were like chopping everybody up.
They went to commercial and we all said, we don't care what happens the rest of the night.
Yes, we're good.
I mean, about 20 minutes later, that was not the case. There was a lot of feelings going on. But moving forward, we get Navalny winning for Best Documentary. I think none of us really argue with that.
Nope.
Again, another powerful moment where we get his family up on stage.
Shit, yeah.
So, I mean, Best Documentary is a very interesting category because it's like you're talking about some real life stuff going on, and it's like, but to have this gentleman's family on stage, I mean, we move then to a really sweet moment that I mean, we wouldn't normally probably talk about Best Live Action Short, but seeing everybody sing Happy Birthday to James.
Come on now.
Does the night get any better to that?
Well, because we were all singing it here too. Like, we all participated in this action.
I do want to point that out. This is for our listening audience who do not know. The 4 of us act as if we are literally in the audience.
We're constantly standing and applauding.
I will say this very quickly. Like, we leave to come here, and our daughter goes, oh, you guys are going to the Oscars? We're like, yeah, we're going to the Oscars.
We are. Yeah, we're going to the Oscars.
Yeah, we're going to Uncle Red.
That's another example of, like, the connection that I was talking about that I've never felt with, the whole audience and everybody. It just felt,
it was beautiful.
And everybody was into it.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't like, oh, I have to sing Happy Birthday. They're into it. And they loved it.
No, and I'm going to totally affirm that, Jesse, because I feel like there was an element of, like, you could feel the real feel in the room was like, we're bought in, movies are magic, and this is a great night. And I think that's what the Oscars should feel like. It should feel like the culmination of a year of work, and it felt like, in many ways, I think in many years, this is the first time, and I think the 4 of us are always really bought into whatever this ceremony is going to be, but this felt like, oh man, the people in the room are bought in. They're really digging what's happening. And that was, and what you're bringing up is an incredible moment of that, of people being really bought in.
I believe, Jesse, you had said a connectivity of the audience, and I think of the fans watching at home. I think really you felt it all night.
Yeah, and I wonder if it was COVID. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're like, wait, this is something magical that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here it is.
It felt like the first full-fledged, we're back night. Yeah, completely. Kind of moving, we're kind of moving quickly through all of these. We get cinematography with All Quiet on the Western Front, which kind of starts where Lauren starts getting real nervous.
Oh, where Lauren sits back in the couch and is very quiet.
Yes.
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 Yes. She was very
I swear I'm not a tyrant,
on
but
the couch front.
You are passionate, and it's what makes the evening. I'm not trying to speak for Jess and Jesse, but I feel like your passion is just what makes...
Oh my goodness, yes.
100%.
If anybody could experience Lauren's passion for the Oscars, it is the most amazing thing you will ever experience.
I want to ask really quick, guys.
Yeah, Lovey.
Because songs, I'm gonna lump the two in together here right off the bat. We get Diane Warren's applause.
I do not let people talk during the Oscars.
Yeah.
I'm like a horrifying totalitarian dictator of you must not talk during the Oscars.
Navalny would not appreciate that.
That song came on and I was like, whatever you guys want to
She
do.
didn't even care that I got up to go get food.
I'm like, whatever.
Go ahead.
She literally released us. She literally said, you guys can talk. All right. All of us think it's just a terrible song for a movie that we're all not really sure actually
No one's
exists.
right.
Yeah.
It's not a real movie.
So we then move on to the Everything Everywhere All at Once song, which I gotta be honest, I don't even remember what the title of that song
It's
is.
called This Is a Life, and it was the weirdest fucking
It's
experience.
a terrible performance,
The
right?
two of them, though, are so freaking cute, but it was such a
David
horrible...
Byrne and yes,
so cute. That...
It's like they didn't talk through their performance beforehand.
One
just
not knowing
showed
the
up.
lines.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
really knowing the lines and really knowing
One was
how to
just really
perform.
worried about having the hot dog fingers,
Yes.
and then after that,
Yes,
it was kind of if I literally had only ever heard that song from that performance, I'd be like,
No.
"What
Why
is
was
this?"
nominated?
Right? Yeah. So that's a little.
But the
agreed.
recorded version of it's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we get to one that we all disagreed. Even though many of us actually really enjoyed the movie, which was The Whale in Makeup. Not a film that even though obviously Brendan Fraser looks great, in that movie, none of us really agreed with that. So we get to some of these kind of craft middle words where we all started kind of turning a little.
It's great makeup if we're talking about the makeup. It's really good makeup, but it's it feels like they worked on one individual,
right?
And that was the makeup, which was great. But there's these other movies that have so much more, so many more layers, and so many more characters, and so much more work put into these other movies, such as Elvis.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say no. No.
Yeah, I mean, I love that movie, but yeah, I agree with you guys. I just didn't think that one necessarily deserved this. I'd like to see more of a, like you said, Jesse, this was kind of Brendan Fraser looked great, but these other films were more expansive, right?
Yes, entirely.
Costume, Lauren, you were quite excited. Black Panther
Ruth
gets
Carter.
the W on this one for Ruth Carter.
I love Ruth Carter. She's, to me, the next Edith Head. It's going to be that Ruth Carter is nominated, you need to assume she's going to win. And it's not because, there's some pedigree associated with her, in particular, although at this point there certainly is. I think it's just, Ruth Carter really cares about her craft, and she speaks passionately about it, and I think her desire to communicate the world of Black Panther in a socially conscious way is something that I really admire about her costume design. And I obviously, there's no denying, obviously if you listen to the podcast, I ride for anything Black Panther related, but Ruth Carter is just an incredible figure, so her win feels...
I appreciate, again, I will say she had paper that matched her dress, which looked fantastic.
She's a costume designer, of course.
Then we get the not to, from RRRR, sorry, song and dance, and it feels like, okay, we're back, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That pumped us back up.
Yes.
Wakes everybody
Jesse
back
and I
up.
were a little upset about the Catherine Martin disses of all of that for Elvis. So yeah. That pumped us back up.
Yes. That's why I didn't, I didn't go for you guys, because I knew you
we
were a
sitting
little,
over here just
upset.
listening to Lauren, that's great. That's
I do
awesome.
appreciate that we both have we have a costume person in the film
Yeah,
industry
it's
that we're excited for.
We're sitting over here Catherine Martin is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that can be the really fun thing about the Oscars is you can just you know, you can be a real fan of, like, the top categories, your actors and actresses, your directors, and then your best picture. When you get into the craft categories, it can be really fun to have a person you're rooting for, because it's like, they're the work behind it. And I think it gives you, and I don't mean this in a pretentious way, it gives you a deeper, like appreciation of the film work that's happening here, of, like, look, this person who created these costumes, this world doesn't exist without them. And I think, like, talking about Elvis, talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, like, it's, like, undeniable that these films needed expert costume people to create that world. It does not feel like Elvis's version of the 50s and 60s without, you know, your costume designer. It does not feel like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever without their costume designer. And I think that's important.
100%.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about Not Too.
Go ahead. Go back to your nothing. You go right on back. I totally
because after the first
to, like, Ryan, you didn't ask me about Catherine
The
Martin.
first two performances were such a letdown that this was
God,
like,
that was amazing.
Yes.
You know, and I didn't know if they were going to be able to pull it off on stage, but they do something. It's special.
They were so good.
You know, so really seemed to really get us back into it, you know, because right after this, we end up getting the Jimmy Kimmel comes out. He makes his second kind of Will Smith joke of the night of, like, aren't you guys missing the slapping at this point? And I think it actually is good timing. Although, you know, I felt like we kind of moved past the Will Smith, but it was like, we did hit a lull in the middle of this show. We were like rocket out at the front. And then it was just like, oh, okay, we're kind of
slowing down a little
moving around. And I think this will always be the problem with the Oscars. This is the thing I will say. The Oscars are a niche thing. Like, the four of us, we are, you know, we all kind of, you know, came to be at a movie theater, and films are our lives, and we watch all these films. This is where I think the show can't keep the casual viewer.
Screw you people. Care about the craft categories.
That's right. Let's get a little chaotic.
Like, God damn it. Like, no.
They tried to cut him. They brought him back, and now Ryan's like, oh, I got a little lull.
But this is what I'm saying. Thank you, Jessica.
Hold on. I would like to just point out. No. You're fair. This is the problem. I say, because my thing is, like, I'm tired of hearing, like, oh, the Oscars have... Screw it. The four of us have been watching this show for how many years? Lauren's been watching it since, you know, she came out of the womb. 4 years old, Like,
I came out my mom's vag.
We don't
like Oscars.
Watch this now, Lauren.
You know, I would like to point out that the theme of the evening seemed to be mommies. Just for the record.
Mommy's left. Right.
That was certainly on purpose. With everything everywhere.
Every time it happened, I did a little bow, like, you're welcome.
So, which I lean into Lauren. I'm just like, anyway, seemed to be a big theme of the evening. So, yeah. So,
weird.
But then we move on to another movie. Jess, I'm going to give this one to you. This is your, you know, you were championing it. The Elephant Whisperer wins Best Short Documentary.
You know what? I am so disappointed that on my ballot, I did not pick it. And I don't know why I didn't.
Damn it, Jess, pick with your heart.
I know.
Always pick with your heart.
The Elephant Whisperer, I am such a lover of elephants. My goodness, they are just, like, my freaking favorite. And watching that was just the sweetest thing in the world. And I want to own one so bad. Not really. Like, I just want to go work at a sanctuary. But, yeah, that was just so beautiful. They're just such spirit animals. And yeah, not to go too crazy, but I'm so happy that one.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Really
That
great
made me so
movie.
happy.
Then we move on to the next musical performance, to which this is where we get Lauren saying, "It's fucking happening."
That's 2 F words, Ryan.
I warned the audience like 10 minutes ago.
Ryan.
Oh, so it's just a matter of warning them?
Yeah, why not?
Like, oh, okay.
We just make up the rules as we go.
Yeah.
Some poor person's, you know, with their child right now, taking him to
all good.
school, and we're
It's all
just...
good. It's all good.
Wait, when did I yell that?
Before Lady Gaga.
Whoa!
Because
Jess jumps up. She's like clapping. Lauren's, I'm like, what is happening right now?
and I just bust
you
out
guys
our
were like-
flashlights.
You guys were like, you were
waving
at
in
the
the air.
concert, like, drinking Fireball, and like, let's
I know.
No.
No fireball, no fireball,
No.
sir.
Oh my gosh, we were singing that so
Yes,
loudly,
we were, and I don't know if that I know all the words,
No,
but I
you
was singing
don't.
it. Yeah.
Did you guys forget we're doing a podcast?
Yeah.
No. The whole day is she gonna perform? Isn't she gonna
Yeah.
perform? So I
Yeah.
think that kind of like made it more special for
Yes.
Stripped down version of Gaga. I loved her.
I have written here
Yes.
stripped down and awkward.
Oh.
I'm that guy.
I-
I'm that
no,
guy.
Thank
you.
I 100% agree.
I don't know what was going
you
on.
boys stay over on your
What were
side.
the
Lady
choices?
Gaga shows up and she's in this beautiful dress. She looks, thing, and then all of a sudden she shows up. You can see the
Natural.
lipstick smeared off.
Natural.
She starts to give a speech that made no sense.
Nobody else got
Right? No.
No, I will say that part
Yeah.
of it, I was a little like, what's happening here? You seem
Lauren
like a
and I-
presumptive winner.
We didn't listen to that part.
No,
just
we were
listened
so
to when the
excited.
song started.
Yeah,
that's
we're
pretty
just
much
like,
it.
whatever. What a time to be alive.
Keep going, keep
Gaga,
going.
secret
Yeah,
And it
performance.
was strangely a close-up on her the entire time, right? Almost the entire time.
Can
it was
we-
very.
And I
really-
happen to
it was
think
really-
Yes.
that was my pick to that's what I wanted to win.
Yeah, very good.
So this isn't
Yeah.
me coming from a like, hey, I'm just all for Naatu or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And my pick to win, the performance delivered on that, which
You
was
were
lifted
getting
up by
there.
Rihanna.
It's not really-
All right, sorry.
Yes.
No, I do want to say though, we get to production design.
Yeah,
We get All Quiet on the Western Front.
sure.
I literally look at Lauren and I go, uh-oh.
And I went,
Yeah,
all
things
they
went downhill.
And I, in the most arrogant way, said all that they did was dig holes, which is not fair at all. Like,
All you
Because
hear is
we
bong, bong,
get a
bong.
bunch, right? We got All Quiet on the
Original
Western Front
score.
ends up winning Best International. It wins Best Score. Like, it just starts to hit some of these
Lauren
middle.
and Ryan were panicking.
There was
Yeah.
a little
Big
panic
time.
going on.
Yeah.
For the record, I want to say that I was rooting for the score. I think the score is amazing.
We know.
congratulations, Ryan.
We don't need to
So
give our
he
opinion.
was literally
know.
making pigs in a blanket, and he was like, Alexa, play All Quiet on the West Front score. Like, literally earlier today.
And all you hear is bum bum bum.
Repeat. Put that on loop, please.
Every time it won, I was just pumped because they
Ryan's
played
like,
that
"It's
score.
So good.
And I think the panic really set in of like, is this going to go in a way where we're all going to feel like the best picture isn't deserving, that these directing like awards are going to go in a way that feels unsatisfying? I just started feeling like a tidal wave of, oh God, this is going to go, like we went from the pinnacle of excitement and emotional speeches to something that's going to feel like this incredible foreclosure of going, okay, All Quiet on the Western Front wins. Is that great for Hollywood? Is that great for filmmaking? Is that great for the Oscars? I don't think it is. And I also don't think it's the most deserving. So, like, it was just,
agreed.
it felt like the night was about to turn in a way that felt like this is going to go from being, what a time to be alive, to, oh God, okay, Oscars, you just
Lauren
Oscared
was
all over this.
She
Yeah,
was, and
like,
I don't think it
she was
helped.
full
And
broken.
shout out to Anthony, who did our, pre-show
shit,
on this.
yeah.
I believe was texting you at this point and feeding into this.
Yeah, because
fear.
Anthony's
Yeah.
like, I'm worried. And I'm like,
Anthony-
me too, bro.
I would like to say, Anthony, she took her phone and she flipped it over because she mentally had to like prepare for the fact that like she's like, no. I had to like get back in a frame of mind.
I got to a point where Anthony is sending me the same panic that I'm feeling, and my brother is sending me hilarious takes on the Oscars, and I'm like, I can process neither. The phone is
she's
getting
like,
flipped
no.
over.
I saw
We
it
all start
happen.
talking to Lauren like it's like a grandparent who's not going to make it, and you're like,
It's okay. It'll
you
be
know what? The Oscars are going to be in a better place.
They're going with the ancestors. They've lived a good life.
Right. I want to ask you guys, what was your feelings as throughout the night we keep getting these Best Picture introductions with these little montages? Were we a fan of this? Jesse?
Yeah, I mean that's a classic thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I honestly, I liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I like giving it just that little bit of couple seconds. Give
Yeah.
it a minute of just like focusing on that. And
They were kind of going away from that. Like they were backing off on all the things they used to do. So give me more Oscars.
Right.
Give me more
Yeah.
like clips of the movies and sing the songs.
Yes,
And, like
yes,
I
more
want
clips.
all of that. Like we want to feel We want to feel the movies
They
while we're watching this.
They saved Top Gun for the end, so my curiosity is, was that intentional? Like,
Alphabetically, it doesn't make sense.
No, it didn't. It felt like they were doing everything they could to keep that Top Gun audience in.
And let me tell you, from the Anthony Hopkins, Chadwick Boseman crisis of 2021, I have now learned, do not fall into their games of we're holding this to the end because it's important to you.
We knew.
Yes.
We knew better.
This is a kind of a two-part question. So we get to visual effects. We get the cocaine bear showing up, which was probably one of my favorite presentations. It shouldn't work, but it did, right?
Totally
Yeah,
did.
Yeah,
it was like super uplifting and just funny.
Yes.
Like, it was just nonsense.
It just really works. So I guess that kind of leads me to the bigger umbrella question. Did you guys like, for the most part, the presenters throughout the night? I didn't think we really had too many flubs or issues.
Jessica's got something here. Hold on.
Oh, I would just like to say that Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield should present every award.
For no reason.
For no reason whatsoever, besides the fact that I love them. That's pretty much it. Sorry,
That's
Second
fair.
Jess's feelings on it.
yeah, those are my feelings, and I'm sticking to it.
Fair. Lauren, I was a little worried with Lauren when Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan came out.
Oh wait, Pedro Pascal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are many good ones.
The eye candy.
All right,
was
sorry,
fine.
back to Lauren.
Especially Idris Elba. Yeah. Right, guys? You guys really like
Jesse wants him as the new
Idris
James
Elba
Bond.
did not present an award. You're making this up. You're
Lauren
trying
just
to
somehow
inception
had
into me.
gaps
No,
in
he
the-
did. Jesse wants him as the new James Bond. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
Sorry, go ahead. Side note.
No, Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors presenting is amazing. I like their little shout out to Angela Bassett. That worked for me, and they just were as charming and as amazing as they always are.
Just to throw a little chaos in here, we're going to talk about the fact that Angela Bassett did not stand up for Jamie Lee Curtis
doesn't need to.
nor clap.
She just lost.
All right, that's fair. We'll move on. Just moving on.
Yeah,
Just
let her
throwing it out there.
She didn't.
Avatar
like
wins special effects. We don't need to talk about that. That was no
No,
surprise.
that. Well deserved.
Did we like Jimmy Kimmel's little bit in the audience, talking to the, asking questions to the audience?
Go for it, Lauren.
It was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like.
He obviously did not talk to Malala
No.
beforehand.
Can I tell you,
No.
I just feel like the Malala thing where it is complicated is like, bro, you know her history. Like, this
Right.
is not fun and light. She's not an act. And, like, not to say that the actors and actresses that are nominated or presenting or there can't be filled with their own complications, but, like, her complications are a little more severe
Right.
than most of the people in attendance, so you've got to kind of, I don't know. I didn't feel like Malala was the person to go
I
for
agree.
that.
It didn't fully work. We didn't really have that, selfie moment that I think,
Yeah.
But I will say credit again to Jimmy Kimmel of he realized in the moment
Yes.
this isn't working, and I want to make sure Malala is a treasure to us all, and we are not gonna.
He totally acted like, I
Yeah.
don't want to offend you.
Yes.
Like, it's okay. It's okay.
I agree, Jess.
Yeah.
entirely.
But that moves us into. I will just say I believe the best performance of the night, which was Rihanna's.
I felt lifted.
She hit all the notes, the right
Yes.
notes for a performance at an Oscars.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
it-
what we wanted from Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Entirely, Jesse. And I think it's like, I felt like at the end of her performance, I've gone through something emotionally. I felt like she felt the weight of the song. I felt like she performed it in a really beautiful way. Yeah, it was everything you want from an Oscars performance.
I'm gonna give this one to Lauren. I hope that's okay with you, because we get to original screenplay. The Daniels win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. This was a really up in the air category. But we get 5 minutes of teacher speech.
Yay.
Did you feel good? Did you feel seen?
I felt really good as a public
Yes.
educator. Yes.
all the teachers.
Yes. Give it up for the teachers. Yeah, I mean, when he started, he was like, I could list all the teachers that gave me detention, but I'm going to list all the teachers that inspired me. I was like, hell yeah. Because, look, I don't purport to be one of those teachers, but, to see the art of teaching be acknowledged in that way always feels good because, look, I'm going to say this, and I don't say this about me as a person. I say it as a profession. You don't get anywhere without your educators. Just be honest about that, and the fact that he was like,
Amen.
the fact that he was willing to say that, I was like, that's really cool, and that felt good. And if from a film that I was like back in March, I'm like, that shit needs to win Best Picture. I was like, yes.
What's our ruling? S word? Is the S word allowed?
No.
No,
Sorry,
just the F word. We're full on. F word, okay. S word.
I'll list the episode as explicit.
Great win for them.
Yes.
Next award, all I'll say is Sarah Polley. Women Talking wins adapted screenplay.
100%.
I feel like we all agreed on that one.
Agree.
Yes. I will say this is the award that I looked at Lauren right before it, and I went, this is going to determine the rest of the night. Like, Women Talking wins, Everything Everywhere All at Once wins Best Picture. If All Quiet on the Western Front wins, that's going to win Best Picture.
Lauren just sunk into her couch like, no.
And if Top Gun somehow pulled off,
we would all cheer.
then Top Gun was going to win Best Picture.
Here's the thing, if All Quiet on the Western Front, I would have uncorked every bottle of alcohol on the cart and just started. Life is meaningless.
And I will say, this is where I'll throw this out here. Not the most important thing of the evening, but I will give Sarah Polley Best Dressed of the Evening.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Yes. She was amazing.
She gives a great speech that I just felt was just one of the most beautiful, let me give everybody in my entire film all the credit, right? And this is a writing category where she could have just kept it but I mean, she is the director and the writer, obviously, but just a really, really cool moment. But I do want to ask you guys, it's part of the Oscars. E literally, devotes 8 hours to, how everybody looks. Best Dressed. Anybody want to throw out some favorites of the evening?
Oh, I love my pew.
I threw Pew.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth between Florence Pugh and Phoenix from Maverick.
Oh, hell yeah.
And let me do a really quick shout out to Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh,
that
that's a good
was
one.
fantastic.
He looked great. Yes, very much so. Jesse, did you have... I mean, quite frankly, I think you were the best dressed of the evening.
Yes, I was. I nominate myself.
Yes.
But yes, no, I think Florence Pugh. Yeah, I do. Yeah. She stood out.
I loved Angela Bassett. I thought she looked incredible. I thought that Hong Chow looked awesome. I love the fit of that dress. I thought was incredible. Salma Hayek. Like Salma Hayek all day, every day, all day long. So they're incredible. Like, I think the thing I'd heard before this is this is a year to show up and show out. And I thought that really happened. I think people really wanted to kind of push. And I think the Oscars are really a weird thing. And I think this can happen in speeches, and I think this can happen in fashion is am I doing something proper, or am I going, this is the fruition of life's moments? So it's do I go with the biggest outfit that I possibly can, the biggest speech that I possibly can, or do I do something a little bit more respectable, a little bit more reserved? And I don't think anyone did that, and I kind of like that.
I agree. I'll give a shout out to Rock. I thought he
looked awesome.
I thought that color
that
on that jacket was just phenomenal. Top Gun wins.
I also think I want to shout out Jonathan Majors, who I thought his suit was incredible, and it was inspired by suits that Frederick Douglass wore. So I thought that was an incredible intention in the way in which he was dressing himself. So
I was about to make a comment about you calling out Jonathan Majors, but since you followed it up with a really serious thing.
Well, I don't want to.
We'll move forward to Top Gun winning Best Sound. Top Gun with its sole victory ends up being in sound.
If I had to get one of my two movies that I loved, I lied, Banshees and
Banshees, shut up, man.
Right. I mean,
come on, Banshees.
Banshees went in with a lot of presumption of this is gonna get something, and then it got nothing.
I love that movie so much.
I agree. Yeah, it's a special film.
Not to, are we surprised? Ends up winning Best Song.
No.
Okay.
No.
No, I'm not.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't hold my hand to win, but oh my gosh, their performance was just beautiful. They completely deserve to win. Hands down.
I feel like Anthony talked about this on the pre-show of this almost felt like it had to happen because this was the love that RRR needed.
Yes.
It was
Yeah,
for
yeah.
political reasons. It ends up not getting they don't put it up to be nominated, and then they don't get a movie in. It's not up for Best Picture. All of this, so it feels
Well
like
done by them.
and deserving too, because it is a as they said on the show, it's a banger of a song. Like
It's great.
if I ever decide to work out again, I will certainly put that on a
Gosh, I could never dance like that. You can. That's insane.
and also great speech, right?
Yeah.
Really a
Yeah,
memorable
yeah,
speech
yes,
by
yes,
them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Then we get into the in memoriam, and it's always
Why
weird
are
to
you
talk
laughing,
about this.
Ryan?
Yeah, people died.
Ryan, you're not
I
welcome.
find death
Yeah.
hilarious.
Are you Puss in Boots or you're like, I laugh in the face of death? What's going on?
I'm on my
I
next
found
life.
I found it strange, and I don't feel
People
like
die, Ryan. Why is that strange?
Life
Ryan.
cycle. Ryan, stop being a monster.
I mean, when my time comes, I hope Lenny Kravitz plays the piano and me off to
You'll
my.
get Sarah McLachlan, like the In the Arms of an Angel. That's what we're gonna give you.
So we actually, right before this, we get a really emotional moment from John Travolta.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, I know you guys all want to mock me, but let's talk about the seriousness.
No,
I'm
that's
just joking.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, John Travolta gives, like, genuinely a really emotional moment that leads into Lenny Kravitz. I thought the song choice was really good. I just found, we end up talking about this every year. It was strange because it was like you're split screening certain people. I know,
Yeah.
Lauren, your brother was kind of questioning that. Like, how popular do you need to be to have your own single
and
and
I
not
know.
split?
Yes, I'm so glad he said that.
And why do some get video?
Yeah.
Like that always bothers
And then,
me.
Yeah.
and then we
Agreed.
legitimately, even more years than there's years past that we hear this, and then it's like, oh yeah, they did forget this person. And this one, there were legitimately 3 or 4 people right off the top of my head. I went, we're not in
Absolutely.
this. And then
Absolutely.
you get this weird, like, we'll go to the website.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like. You're a 3.5 hour song,
made a joke at the
show.
end
You
where
can
you're
go
like,
an extra 4 minutes to
Yeah.
give these people
I think-
their
oh,
due.
you're special enough. Go to the website and check us out.
I think there's a way to edit it where you can make it more inclusive and you can include more people within it, like, than what they're doing currently, or you just completely take it out of the ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Agreed.
go,
100%.
this brings down the ceremony in a way that is not helpful to the ceremony itself. It's important to remember these people, but are there other ways that we can do that? I think it's maybe a conversation for the Academy.
I also think
Yeah.
it's always a reminder for the people in the audience that you guys are going to be up on that screen soon.
Yeah.
I always think it's a little morbid
Yeah.
too, a little bit like,
Yeah.
this is what
That
you're going
one
to be
day-
right there.
Well, yeah, because too, if you're a member of and the other thing is, I don't know if that's always an understood thing, is like the people that are up there are only members of the Academy. Not every actor is a member of the Academy. And that is a
that's
dynamic here that plays.
That's true.
Too, because like if you're like, oh, this person wasn't included, they might not have been a member of the Academy, and that might be why they're not included in the
Lauren
memoriam.
dropping the practical.
Yeah.
So now moving from that seriousness, film editing ends up going Everything Everywhere, and then we get to Best Director, and Lauren, little tense,
Little tense.
rooting for a boy.
Yeah, I am.
Steven Spielberg,
Still
the boring Steven Spielberg.
So many.
For the record, I
ways
do not
that-
think that
No.
Steven Spielberg is boring. It was a comment made recently on something Lauren was doing. Steven Spielberg, you were rooting hard. Are you okay?
I'm fine. Here's the thing. When the Daniels won for Best Original Screenplay, I thought to myself, okay, this is the path. Spielberg is going to win, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win Best Picture, and that's going to make a lot of sense to me. And then when the Daniels won, I was very excited because I do think that is an incredibly directed film, so I'm not mad about it, but it's more of just like, I don't know. I feel like the thing I feel most unsettled about with this Oscar ceremony is I can't understand why the Fabelmans are walking away with nothing. It does not make sense to me. It does not make sense that beautiful of a film, that beautifully directed, that beautifully shot, that beautifully composed, that beautifully acted
nothing.
film got nothing. It does not make sense to me at the end of the day. And I will say the only thing I can kind of reconcile in my head is like if so much had to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once, that I can be kind of okay with. But and I say this and I know this is unpopular, All Quiet on the Western Front having as many flowers as it did still didn't make sense to me. That's cool, bro. You're 1917, 3 years later. Great. And I still feel very firmly about that.
I love Lauren.
Like, I
Now
don't...
you guys know why I threw it to her first.
Yeah.
I'm not enchanted.
We're just sitting back watching her speech.
And to anyone who's listening who's like, oh, maybe you don't like horror films. I grew up on horror films. Like, I grew up on a dad who made me watch a lot of war movies, and so I feel like I know the craft well, and I don't think All Quiet on the Western Front proved anything more ambitious or more meditative about war than 15 other films that I could name.
Yeah, but
so,
didn't say anything new, didn't do anything new, but it was still a good movie.
Yeah, it was fine. Sure.
What I've learned here
Trench warfare sucks. Great.
is Lauren loves war. Liberal, feminist Lauren loves war. She just...
I'm an absolute pacifist, so Fableman should have won some stuff.
Yeah.
No, and please understand, I am so stoked by the Daniels win. And I will not pretend like I'm upset about that, except Spielberg not winning for Fableman's is going to bother me a little bit.
Spread it out a little bit. Come on.
Preach.
That's all.
All right, and now I had written in my notes here the nerds inherit the Oscars.
Yes.
And I mean that actually affectionately. Because they are pure joyous nerds, and they created a film that we all are in agreement is a really amazing film.
Yes.
So I was going to wait until we got to the end and Best Picture, but let's just throw it out there now, because I know you guys all feel very strongly, and understandably so, that it feels like as much as everybody was rooting for Everything Everywhere All at Once, we kind of feel a little like, oh... But we want to see. There were so many other good movies that there needed to be flowers somewhere else.
We saw it coming.
Sweep. It's that sweep.
Yeah.
It's that sweep in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, when you see them take, and again, granted, all well deserved, but when you see them take all of these categories, you start going, but this movie deserved it as well. Like, you need to give this movie some credit. Like, it's so hard, and I think that was like. One of our biggest issues is we were all talking about it, you know, of everybody deserves so much in this season, this year. So it's hard to be upset when somebody wins because they actually deserved it. But, yeah.
Oh, I'm knocking the table over. I apologize. No, it's a good point. Because what we end up getting by the end of this show, essentially, is basically no love for Banshees.
Yeah.
No love for Fablemans. No love for Elvis.
Yeah.
And 3 movies that I know all of us would put in, you know, I think in your guys' case, Elvis is the top pick. Lauren, I think Fablemans is one of your, you know, top picks. All 3 I would put somewhere in my top. So like it feels like this weird evening of this went all how we wanted it, but on the same token, you're feeling a little empty.
It's hard to be upset about being happy. Like, it's so weird.
Can I say this? This is the one thing I'll say about this Oscar ceremony is in so many ways, this went 100% how we all wanted it to go. Mm-hmm. Like, it's these performances, it is these particular technical categories, it is the best picture that I think in the annals of Oscars history, Everything Everywhere All at Once should be the best picture this year. So it's like, I don't want to argue against it. And I think ultimately I am super satisfied and I feel really good about this. And it's like, shit, something that we called in March as being best picture, the fact that it won feels entirely satisfying. It's just, when you look at some of these categories where you're like, okay, well, if Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to win best picture, could it have been more spread out? Could the Academy, a voting body, have understood that flowers should have been given in a way that is more representational of the love in these films? Yeah, and honestly, the way they were promoting this entire ceremony, this entire campaign, this entire night, I was like, I had myself so convinced Top Gun Maverick was gonna win. Like, it was, and I'm gonna blame our friend John. I'm gonna blame our friend John. He put this thought in my head, and then I started seeing it.
John.
Like,
That's all
John, who I guarantee you did not watch the ceremony and is waking up going, yeah, this is what I watch.
It's all right.
But he had me, and I'm like,
I did my job.
And I think I wanted it for him. I was like, yes, John is right. This shit is happening.
Like,
yes,
no, we're good.
Well,
yes.
All right, I'm going to say something, though. And I think this is why we're all feeling this way a little bit. And I don't say I disagree with you guys, because none of us have seen this before. Like,
we
this
have,
is
just not in a while.
All right, so the four of us watching it together have never seen it.
No, this is
Right.
true. That is the truth.
I will say, I don't believe, and I could be incorrect, I don't think we've seen anything like this since
We've not seen
Silence of
Sweet.
the Lambs. Is probably the closest. You may argue, because you can't even say Return of the King, because Return of the King didn't win in the acting categories.
Well, so here is the thing I'll say. So when we talk about sweeps, like if we talk about the Titanic here, sorry, I pointed to Jess because like, yeah.
Titanic.
But like when you talk about that,
We
it's
saw a
like,
Titanic commercial during the broadcast, by the way, and Lauren and I hugged each other.
We did.
All right, just
We
for the record,
embraced-
you guys saw a boat. Jesse and I are still unsure if you actually
It
saw the
was
Titanic.
It was the Titanic.
We're pretty
We
sure
saw
it was just
it
the
and
boat.
hugged each other and got very emotional.
But here's the thing I'll say. In the modern era, in the past 10 years, a sweep of this variety has not happened. And the thing is like, as much as we're critiquing this and kind of pulling apart and saying, oh, well, we want to see those flowers being like kind of evenly distributed, I think part of that comes to it is because it's what we've gotten used to. So it's like the presumptive, well, it's going to be a best picture director split, and we all get really comfortable with that idea. I also think, though, the sweep suggests something of like, look, there's one film that was technically more proficient, that was something that needed to be awarded more, and I wonder, is that a pure version of a best picture? Like, should we embrace that? Because at the end of the day, is like, as much as I'm sitting here like with my like hands in my lap going, Spielberg didn't win, in my heart am I like, but Jesus, you walked out of Everything Everywhere All at Once going, yeah, movies, like, and I don't know if I think I'm over litigating how I feel really about what actually happened, which is, in my heart of hearts, do I know that the Daniels were the best director? Do I know that Everything Everywhere All at Once is the best picture? Yeah, I think I do know that to be true. And I think the Academy gave that to me, and I think I'm confused by the Academy giving me what I ultimately know to be true.
You want it to be like wrestling. You want it to let's play this out for a second and third place. Like, you want to give out the silver medal and the bronze so that we can give out some love to these other movies.
And I think, like, look, I we bring up the Titanic thing here, and it's like, look, I've been watching the Oscars since I was like 4 years old. A year that I can really point to is the Titanic year, and going, look, at that point in time, like 13-year-old Lauren sitting there clapping her hands going, everything Titanic, I don't care, like, was just the most amazing and incredible feeling. And I think the problem is 36-year-old Lauren is having a hard time reconciling, but I've gotten conditioned to a different form of the Oscars. And I think, like, seeing this thing that in March of last year that we were kind of all calling as this is the thing that needs to be really awarded, and then actually happening feels weird. And I think as you get a week removed from this, I'm going to go, God damn it, the Oscars did the thing I've wanted them to do. They swept, and they made it clear Everything Everywhere All at Once was the best movie of this year, and get comfortable with it, folks, and that's awesome.
I like that you said get comfortable, because I'm going to lead us off of that for a second, because this is the thing that I am curious about what happens now. We have this movie. Again, we're all these
If you're going to do that, though, you got to sing it like it's Hamilton. I just,
Do it.
No, I don't want to get copyrighted. I'm curious to see what happens from here. And this is something that, like, I will say, like, when Shape of Water won, to me, that was the best picture. It is one of my top 3 favorite films of all time. Something I was always, but I actually didn't want it to win in some ways, because it was like I wanted to keep that close. Like, I don't want that to be the best picture, because people will now judge it. This is something I'm curious about with this movie. So this movie, we all saw back in March of 2022, all loved. I think you guys even talked, like, you almost didn't forget about it, but you forgot almost how much you loved it because it was so long ago. Now this movie is getting all this praise. You have people that are going to go, wow, I'm going to go check this out. And you're going to have the casual fan that tries to go into this multiverse movie about everything bagels and rocks and,
Rip it apart.
so, like hot dog finger hands and,
I will say that Marvel has
sex toy fights.
Well, that part Marvel did not prep people for. But
What? That wasn't an Ant-Man?
No. Yes. To a certain extent, Marvel has prepped people for this movie. To a certain extent.
Fair.
But it is pretty out there.
Yeah.
And you are right. There is the fear that...
And I think there's a piece of time. The other thing I worry of is, like, you have a casual viewer, because I think it takes you about 30, 40 minutes of that movie until you start to almost balance yourself to understand what you're watching.
Yep.
And then you get this whole emotional back end of the film, but it's like to get there. And I'm just curious now of what kind of almost backlash of the casual fan that goes, what the hell are people watching and thinking? And I obviously the four of us disagree, but I'm just curious to see where we go from here now that this is a Best Picture and a dominant Best Picture. I mean, Jess, I don't know if you remember, but you read us a headline probably like 2 hours ago now, that was essentially like, what was it about? A fanny pack,
Oh, yeah.
Wielding, this very
tax preparing mother.
Dominates at the Oscars. I'm just curious to see what occurs now.
Well, and I think that the Best Picture, if it holds the cultural cachet of people watch it and then there's backlash, to me what that signals is like the Oscars still matter to people. Mm-hmm. If none of that happens, then the Oscars don't matter, because I don't think this is easily accepted as just like pure cinema like movie. Like, because I think if Top Gun Maverick wins, that is not hard for people to access. Like, I think it's pretty easily understandable. I think if The Fabelmans wins, it's like, well, it's a Spielberg film, that makes sense. I think something like this winning suggests that, like, and I also think it has a pulse on a particular film culture that exists right now that I think they're monopolizing on in some ways. I don't think stealing from, I think monopolizing on, of like people are engineered towards a certain multiverse understanding of like how film narratives can potentially play out that make it like a little bit easier to digest. So I think that element perhaps plays in its favor. I would love to see the thing I had said in like something else that I had done like around, during this Oscar season of going like, I think Everything Ever All at Once is going to have that cultural cachet of this. That if you are the person who has a poster for that film in your dorm room in 10 years, it means you are a person who's like, oh man, that person knows film. Because like, and I'll offer this example. Like when you and I were first dating, like it was... you had a really beautiful Citizen Kane poster in your room. And I was like, oh man, this dude knows film. And I already knew that about you, but it was like, oh man, like that guy knows things. Like, and I think Everything Ever All at Once, like a poster of that variety could have that potential cultural cachet of like, if you know that, you know film. And I think some years Oscar has to do something mass. And I think some years Oscars have to do something a little bit more cultural touchstone, and I think some years Oscars is going to do something that is going to be appreciated for generation after generation, and I think that's this film. Like, and I think something like this winning is a real, because like it also offers like a safe enactment of weird. There's hot dog fingers, there's butt plugs, there's multiverse, there's bagels. Like, it's a really strange movie in that way, but I also think people like strange, we like weird, and we like gathering around weird, whether or not we want to admit that to ourselves, but gathering around like, hey, that hot dog fingers sequence kind of freaked me out a little bit. There's like an element of...
It kind of turned me on.
Yeah, like it kind of turned me on. Like, you're kind of like, do I want to live in that world? Maybe. Like, there's something to that. There's an element of like, oh man, I recognize the same weird that exists in me exists in you, and I think that can be a really beautiful thing.
I do like living in a world where the last bunch of Best Picture winners, with the exception of the awful Green Book, we're looking
Don't talk about that movie.
Shape of Water, Parasite, Nomadland, Coda, and now Everything Everywhere at Once. It just feels good.
And I don't want to put my head in my hands and go, Academy, what are you doing? I just want to go, yeah, Academy, let's go. Film culture has been stratified beyond any of our possible understandings than what we grew up understanding the Academy to be. So be something different. represents something different. And isn't that, by the films that you're listing, what it's attempting to do?
Represent something different. Let's kind of finish up here.
Sure. Wait, are we done talking about the Oscars? Because I don't want to be done talking about
No, but I want to talk about, we still have 2
like...
acting categories, you
Sure.
know?
All right, yeah, let's finish up. Sorry.
Did we really skip? We were talking about.
We've been talking about Best Picture.
Yeah,
I feel like at this point, you know, let's talk first with the one we all just had kind of different feelings going into it. Jess, I'm gonna pass this over to you. You have been championing Mr. Austin Butler for months and months and months. You know, in fact,
buddy.
I think I had to ask you before we started would you be okay if I
Yeah.
applaud? So what we end up getting is, you know, probably the odds-on favorite. Brendan Fraser ends up taking home the victory. You know, I think we all agree. We all love Brendan Fraser. His story we're all cheering for. But Jess, I want to hear your end of it because you know, obviously had I think both of you did, but Jess, I know you've been very outwardly spoken about Austin Butler. I'd love to hear your side of this. And, you know, kind of it stinks when you have somebody that you're so passionately rooting for and they don't end up coming out with the victory.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to start off with, Brendan Fraser totally deserved that. I mean, he is amazing and wonderful, and I love him so much, and he absolutely deserved that award. Austin Butler, though, in my opinion, I mean, he was my love. And just from a standpoint of, he put his heart and soul, not like anybody else doesn't, but like he put his heart and soul into that part. And he lived and he breathed Elvis for 3 years of his life. And, you know, I just felt like it was a performance that, you know, wasn't an impersonator. It wasn't somebody who couldn't sing and just mouth the entire time.
Rami Malek.
But, you know, somebody who became Elvis. You know, he had a lot of parallels too in his life that match with Elvis. And, you know, I wanted to see him win that. I wanted to see all of his hard work that came to fruition, and he won that award.
I think it comes down to like what? Oh my gosh, husband and wife.
I'm not done. I just want to say, like, again, everybody puts their hard work into it. So again, Brendan Fraser absolutely deserves it. But I really wanted Austin Butler to have it.
Yeah.
Now go ahead, Jesse.
I don't even know what I was gonna say.
I know.
Go ahead, Ryan.
He dressed as Elvis, guys. That's all.
No, I'm good. Let's hear.
My thing kind of goes back to Lauren, is what she said about everything, everywhere, all at once. Is that it's like I think that movie is going to live on, and that movie is going to be something years down the line that you're going to remember. And if you take The Whale, and you take Elvis, and I think. And I feel pretty confident that the performance, if you're going to be talking about performance, Elvis is going to be the one that most of the world will remember 10 years down the line. That's my feeling.
So I'd just like to go on the matter of fact and say that Jesse and I are huge Baz Luhrmann fans, and we love him very much, and anything that he does.
I'm basing it off of Darren Aronofsky and Baz Luhrmann, so I don't remember any of the performances.
Baz Luhrmann is our god.
From Darren Aronofsky. I remember all the performances from Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
Mickey Rourke was pretty phenomenal in The Wrestler. But that being said, Jesse, I think that's probably the best argument that I've heard for Austin Butler, because I happen to agree actually with you. As much as I thought Brendan Fraser deserved to win, I'm cheering for Brendan Fraser. I think it was the best performance of the year, but I think that
I do kind of agree too.
But I agree with you. In 10, 15 years from now, I agree with you. I think most of us will still be watching, you know, people, the casual fan, the people will be popping on Elvis, and not a lot will go, you know what I want to sit down and watch? The Whale. That's not to take away from the performance. It's not to say that it shouldn't
amazing.
win.
Yeah.
Lauren, I mean, what's your feeling? I know you love Colin Farrell. Are you just happy?
Yeah, we don't even talk about.
Are you just happy that Anthony is not burning his car down right now?
Like, so happy. The dude's an Uber driver. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to see him set his car ablaze. But I will also say this. Like, if Colin Farrell had won, I would have been really excited. If Austin Butler had won, I would have been excited. Obviously, I was very excited to see Brendan Fraser win. Like, I think the thing that you're offering, Jesse, and you as well, Jess, like, I think this idea of, like, what this performance could potentially mean long term, and I think that's kind of the thing I'm arguing with Everything Everywhere All at Once, is, like, a film that withstands past this Oscar season, past the cultural cachet of being nominated. I think Elvis has that. Now, I do think that there's more there with the Brendan Fraser performance, and I am there for that story. I am there for what he was able to do and the transformation emotionally and you know, his gratitude during the season. But those, I know some of the things I'm listing are these external factors that don't really come down to the merit of performance, but I do think he was meritorious in winning winning for this role. But I think what you're offering is potential. I think the fan that approaches and is like, I want to know something about Elvis, is going to watch Elvis and feel like they get something from that, versus like, are they casually going to sit down to watch, like, I want to know what it feels like to be a morbidly obese man who's in the final days of his life. I don't know if that is something that gets as easily passed around as something like Elvis.
True. I will say the one thing I have to say, you know, watching over the evening, something I will say, and shame on me, to Colin Farrell's, is every time they showed a clip, I forgot how good that performance
God
is.
damn it. Thank you for
He's amazing.
Yeah, there is such
Can
a...
I pour a whiskey and talk about that for a second?
Please do, Lauren.
Because, like, in all honesty, like, I think that's the thing, is I think, like, we can very easily take for granted what he's doing in that performance. And I think, like, Banshees of Inisherin is one of those movies that, like, I watched and was like, immediately, this is brilliant. And then, like, you're watching tonight, and I've said a lot in our podcast leading up to this and prior, just in conversations, because we talk about the Oscars obsessively, of going, like, well, but this should win over Banshees, or this should win over Banshees. And then, like, we're watching clips tonight, and I'm like, nothing should win over Banshees.
Yes.
Banshees is brilliant. Like, what is happening?
Banshees is amazing.
Yeah, and what is this Oscars where something like this gets totally shut out? Like, you know, and I'm, you know, the motherland calling me home, and I'm just like, the Irish in me is like, this is bullshit. Like, I want this story to win. This donkey is incredible. Like, this performance is insane. Like, I don't know. There's, and please understand, I feel deeply, deeply satisfied with these Oscars. I am very excited for the things that won, but I can't pretend like that I'm a little like, Banshees got nothing? That doesn't feel right.
Banshees, Fabelmans, and Elvis got nada. So, yeah, it is a little upsetting. But
it's a testament to the year, though. Like, it
yes,
really is.
Yes.
And this probably ends up being this most
Movies are bad,
interesting
guys.
category, too, because it ends up being this category that did not have anything with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you end up going, well, which one is coming out in this?
Yeah.
And, also, shout out to all the donkey actors this this season.
Eo, Jenny.
Yes. I think there were a couple others in there. So, I mean, it's weird because we're going to, you know, not weird, actually more of a positive, because we end up, let's finish the night with Michelle Yeoh.
Woo!
Yes.
Again, I have quote here, Lauren yelling, I'm just going to say, F word, yes. Very
Yes,
loudly,
we did.
standing ovation. Yes.
Everybody gave a standing ovation.
So, you and I went out to brunch earlier today or yesterday. I don't know, we're recording this so late. But you and I on Oscars...
Thanks to our friends for being here. It's like
God
2
damn,
a.m.
Got, like, the real ones in all of this. But, like, legitimately, we were out at brunch, and you asked me in a very earnest way as I ate my make-your-own omelet and drank a mimosa, and you're like, hey... You're like, what will you be most disappointed by? And I very clearly stated to you, if Michelle Yeoh doesn't win, that is going to be the thing that disappoints me the most. And you were like, okay. And I was like, and I even said to you, not in a I'm going to threaten to burn down the house way, but in a I'm not going to like if this doesn't go her way. So the fact that this went that way, good job, Oscars.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you.
Oscars, we didn't threaten to burn down the house at number 2 now. So, I mean, yeah, historic win. deserving win.
100%.
We
She
all
looked gorgeous.
think Cate Blanchett is a phenomenal actress. We all think that there was something phenomenal in Tar, although we all have our feelings about the film of itself. But this is
Michelle Yeoh is an angel.
Yeah.
Like, she's just,
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
there are just so many what she has to pull off in this film, and it's just such a deserving, like, it's almost this award that, like, you almost kind of wish in this only small way that Everything Everywhere at Once wasn't so dominant, because it should such be this highlight of, like, her performance that should shine above all else, right? Like,
No, just all of the shine going to all things, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Except
I'm gonna
Stephanie Hsu.
I'm gonna rewind this to back about 30 minutes ago when Lauren was saying this whole Oscar night needed to have more wins.
My feelings are at the moment. They are dynamic.
And listen, Stephanie got to perform on stage, so she got her little
weird-ass
her
performance,
shine
yeah,
of
but-
a time. But yeah.
All right, and and again, we get Best Picture, ends out the night. We get Everything Everywhere All at Once. We get a producer up there we've never seen before.
Nope.
Give a speech. Fine.
Just like, nah, you're not.
Jimmy Kimmel comes out, ends our evening, and then has that great moment with the
He's just like,
without incident.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that guy's probably like, thank God nothing weird happened, because the last time I was here, something weird happened, and I'm not down for a La La Land Moonlight kerfuffle.
Lauren,
Yeah.
Academy Award season coming to an end. We're going to be going into 2023. I want two things from you.
Yeah.
I want a final thought on the award.
Okay.
And a movie that you're looking forward here in 2023 that whether we'll see it, we'll be talking about it next Oscar season or not.
So, how I feel is really satisfied, and in a good way. You and I saw 50 of the 52 nominees, and I feel really good about the things that won, and I think that when you can be invested that deep and have seen that many nominees, it feels like the night is more engaging. The thing I am most looking forward to is Greta Gerwig getting nominated for another Oscar. Let's make that happen. Come on, Barbie. Let's go party.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yes, Jessica!
Jess, you're...
Oh, jeez. I have to say, like, Jesse and I are movie lovers, but this year was a little bit different for us in a good way, and we were able to see a lot of the movies that were nominated this year, and I'm actually gonna kind of miss it. I'm gonna kind of miss doing the group texts and everything with the movies that we're watching, but I'm excited to start a new fresh year. And from a movie standpoint, we have our kids that are obsessed with their random things that we end up having to watch movies on, but obviously Barbie is one of them, and Scream and 65 and all of these ridiculous random things that are going on. But yeah, I'm already looking forward to next year. Like, I just really am super excited.
It's 2 a.m. What was your question?
Final thoughts on this year's Oscars.
Think about that.
And if you have anything you're looking forward in 2023.
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. Final thoughts on this year's Oscars. I think there was a missed opportunity that we could have been using the word feck instead of fuck.
Yes.
I did it. 3. I found a way to do a third.
No.
And as far as that was nothing to do with the Oscars. And as far as movies that I'm looking forward to and things that I'm looking forward to, I probably just doing this again with you guys next year.
Aw,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, this is like my favorite. Seriously, it's
You
like a freaking holiday, a feckin' holiday.
A feckin' holiday.
I want to give a shout out to both your kids who I know were watching like a lot of these movies with you, but especially Christian, who I think has watched almost every single one with
He
you.
has watched like every movie with us,
Which
and
is
it
very, very cool.
I think he understood most of them. I think he understood Tar better than I understood Tar.
I'm gonna give him a call because I want him to explain Tar to me.
Yeah, right?
Tassi, how are you feeling?
Can I tell you, it gave me everything.
Oh.
No, hold on. I knew as soon as I started
I thought
saying
it was coming.
It wasn't. No, it gave me everything I wanted. It gave me emotional speeches. It gave me pretty much every victory I wanted to see. The show was, fun and funny. And yet I sit here and I go, I like a little chaos.
I know.
So I don't think that anybody needs to get assaulted for that, but I don't know what there is something that you come out with those moments and you're like, oh, I don't know if this has a water cooler moment. It has Oscar memorable moments that we'll talk about for years, especially Key's speech, but many of them, but it doesn't have that water cooler moment. And I do miss that. But outside of that, I think it's a solid year, and a year that we probably need it, especially after last year. So I applaud everybody involved with that. As far as looking ahead, Oppenheimer maybe, and probably Dune Part 2 if it ends up coming out this year. I think
gonna
both.
Copy over your answers. Yeah.
So, but we'll see. Jess and Jesse, it's 2 a.m. You guys have been, partying and yelling and cheering and clapping and crying with us for the last, 8 hours. It feels like
I would not have it
on a
any
night
other
we
way.
lost an hour, and we love doing this with you guys every year, and we cannot thank you enough for joining us this evening on this.
This was amazing.
So thank you guys very much. We look forward to doing this again next year. Lauren, it's your year. You close this out.
Oh my gosh. Thank you everyone for joining us on this ride of Oscar season. It is truly the most magical time of the year. And the best thing about Oscar season being over is it means it's just Oscar season starts all over again. If you're not currently following us on Instagram, follow us at How Could You Podcast, on Twitter at How Could You Pod. Please send any suggestions or thoughts you have to our email address, which is howcouldyoupodcast@gmail.com. Please check out all the amazing things that Jordan Films is doing that we will be posting about. We are so excited that you joined us through the Oscar season. Thank you so much to the Kalavodas for being willing to sit in very impromptu fashion on this post-Oscars show.
And Brendan Fraser wins an Academy Award for Best Actor, most best known for The Mummy. And just a shout out to March 25th, Nostalgia Cinema at the Civic Theater.
Yay.
We will be showing The Mummy. Please come out for that. Until next time, the Oscar goes to all of you for being the best fans in the world, and enjoy the Odyssey.
Good job, love.
Hold on, can we do